Hey guys, it's Madison Estes. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing a horror manga book haul. All of these books that I'm about to go over are by the same author, Junji Ito. I was introduced to Junji Ito through the Netflix show MANIAC, which is an anime adaptation of several of his stories. A lot of his stories kind of feel like something from Tales from the Crypt or the Twilight Zone. A lot of them have a very interesting and fresh twist, and a lot of the premises are very unique. One of the stories that I really liked from the show was called Toontown, which is about this town where whenever someone dies, a tombstone immediately emerges from their body in the spot where they die, which I thought was a really interesting concept. And then, you know, this pair of siblings come into town and they accidentally kill someone, and they're like keeping them in the back of their car, but of course the tombstone begins emerging. It's just really interesting and twisted, and you know, and just there's a lot of really fresh ideas with this author. So I went to my library's website and I reserved every book that I could by Junji Ito, and I'm going to go over those books now. So the first anthology collection that I have is called Frankenstein. This says that it is Junji Ito meets Mary Shelley, which sounds very promising to me. And one of the stories in here is about a high school student who lives in a decaying mansion that is connected to a haunted parallel world. It sounds very strange and unusual, and I'm really looking forward to getting to this one. Next up is the anthology collection Shiver. There's a story in here called Hanging Balloons that was really good, which is about people who see their faces in the sky as hanging balloons, and the faces come down and try to kill them, and they have to like run away and hide from them. And if they try to destroy the balloon, like if they try to deflate it, their own face will deflate and they'll die. So that was really cool in the show. And so that story is going to be in here. And I'm not super looking forward to rereading stories I've already seen in the show, but it would be interesting to see if there's any differences. So, and the other stories that are mentioned on the back don't sound as exciting. Like one of them's about a model who faces a real bloody ending. That can mean anything. But I did really enjoy the story, Hanging Balloons, so I'm looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to seeing what else is in here. And yeah, there's some really disturbing graphics on the covers. It looks like one dude has his face covered in like bumps, and you know, this person's got holes in their face, so I'm hoping that this is going to be a good collection. The artwork seems very promising, so we'll see. Next up is the Liminal Zone. This collection only has 4 stories in it, which makes sense because it is quite a bit shorter than the others. One of them is about a girl that visits a town where she encounters a weeping woman, which is basically someone that you hire at a funeral to cry for you. And after she encounters her, she can't stop crying. So that sounds really interesting to me. It's definitely a premise I haven't heard before. And then there's another one in here about a couple that goes into a suicide forest. That sounds really interesting, so I'm looking forward to this one. Those 2 stories sound like very unique premises that I haven't heard of before. I have heard of a suicide forest, but I haven't heard of a couple going into it, so that could be very interesting. Looking forward to this one. This one is called Venus and the Blindspot, and it is a complete and total mystery because I'm reading the insides and it just talks about Junji Ito's work and his reputation. It's like, well, I guess if you already are familiar with his work, you know, that would be helpful, or maybe it wouldn't be helpful. Actually, I don't know why they put that in there at all. I've never opened up a book and been like, oh yes, please tell me more about the author and his, you know, history. I don't want to know what's actually inside this book. I don't know. I guess because it's an anthology, they figure it doesn't matter. But I care. I want to have at least one story I'm looking forward to when I start reading an anthology. I don't know. But the artwork is really cool. In most of these, the pictures are all in black and white, but some of these are illustrated in color, and they look awesome. Here's another picture that looks really cool. This appears to be a corpse giving birth to a baby, so I am really looking forward to reading this and seeing what that's about. Next up is Fragments of Horror. This cover looks really interesting to me. It's definitely inspired by a very famous painting. On the back, it talks about an old wooden mansion that turns on its inhabitants and a dissection class with a most unusual subject. So that sounds really interesting. And then I opened the cover to look at the table of contents, and The Whispering Woman, which was one of the last episodes in MANIAC on Netflix, was one of my favorite episodes. So I'm looking forward to rereading that one. So yeah, that was just a great story, and I think this is going to be a great collection. Next up is the only book by Junji Ito I got that is not an anthology. This book is called Censor. It's about a woman that's invited to go up a mountain or volcano or something, and then later on it appears as though unidentified flying objects begin falling from the sky. So that sounds pretty interesting. It's not as original as some of the other concepts, and I'm not sure I would have picked this book up if it wasn't Junji Ito, so I'm kind of taking a leap of faith here. Not that it cost me anything because this is a library book, but you know, it's still an investment of time. But I think that it's going to be really interesting. And again, this is the only book I got that's not an anthology, so I'll see if I really like his longer works. Although some of his stories I've read I felt like could have been longer works, so looking forward to seeing, you know, what it's like to read a Junji Ito story that's really fleshed out. Fleshed out. If you've seen some of the stories that were on MANIAC, that's a good pun. Last but not least is Deserter. Now, I reserved all of these books at the same time, but this one hadn't arrived yet, so I was just going to go ahead and, you know, take the hold off until I read the synopsis of one of the stories, which sounds really interesting to me. It's the story that the anthology is named after. It says, "A vengeful family hides an army deserter for 8 years after World War II has ended." That sounds so interesting to me. It's a premise I've never heard before. It's so twisted and mysterious because I really want to know why this family did that, because it's just so cruel. And I think that it's a really cool concept. So, you know, I had to go ahead and get this one. I was like, I have to know the answer to the mystery. So I'm definitely going to read that story first. And then I'll go back and, you know, read them in order. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. So let me know what you guys think, if any of the books that I mentioned sound really interesting to you, or if you've read Junji Ito's work before and you have a personal favorite that you'd like to recommend. Please leave your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and be sure to subscribe. On this channel, I post reviews, writing advice, horror commentary, and vlogs. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you later. Please leave your thoughts and comments in the... This is like legit heavy, guys. This is heavy. Oh my god. I'm gonna die. This is much heavier than it looks. Oh shit. Don't know why I pay for weights whenever I could just lift books. This is like seriously probably at least 10 pounds. This is very heavy. This is unpleasant. Oh. I'm dead.